I hope you people are clear how your variable goes in the memory, right? If you're writing a int num is equals to 5, तो कितने bytes reserve होंगे for the integer? Yes? Whatever data you are declaring and defining in the variables should hold that will some location in the memory that you are aware of, right? Your memory is nothing but the array of continuous blocks, and the one block will contain 1 byte. How many bits are there in 1 byte? How many bits are there in 1 byte? 8 bits. So whatever you're writing in your program, since everything will be converted into zeros and ones, that is nothing but bits, right? So each memory byte can hold those 8 bits, and your integer is equivalent to how many bytes? Integer is equivalent to how many bytes? 4 bytes. So whenever you write any variable as of integer, 4 bytes in the memory will be allocated for that particular integer. 4 bytes in the memory will be reserved for that particular integer, right? And the name given to those 4 bytes is called as a variable or the identifier. So variables are the containers for storing data values, a name given to the storage location in the memory. And constants क्या होते हैं? Is an immutable value that cannot change throughout the life cycle of application. So if you are defining a variable as a constant, no one can change their value. Is this clear? Variables and the constants, the concept is same. How to declare and define is also same. Okay. Let's proceed to the data type. What are the data types? Why do we need them? Tell me, how do we define a data type? Why do we need data type? Typecasting a value. Typecasting तो बाद में आएगा, but before typecasting, since your computer cannot understand anything, so before defining a variable, before giving value to that particular variable, we have to tell your computer that this variable is going to have which kind of value, and that different kinds of value are nothing but the different data types available. Okay, so we have to tell your computer that this particular variable is going to hold this kind of value before giving the value to that particular variable. So those are nothing but the different data type. कौन से data type available है हमारे पास? Can you list the data type? Yes, can we list the data type? Int, float, short, double. Okay. So we have the same list available here. Check this out. In C Sharp, we have the following data types: int, long, float, double, boolean, character, and string. Same thing, integer is going to store the whole number ranging from -2 1 4 7 4 8 3 6 4 to positive 2 1 7 4 8 3 6 4 7, and it will reserve how many bytes in the memory? 4 bytes. Whereas long is going to have the 8 bytes in the memory, floating point 4 bytes, double 8 bytes, boolean 1 bit is going to have only 1 bit because boolean is nothing but true or false. True के लिए 1 and false के लिए 0. Then we have character 2 bytes, string 2 bytes per character. जितने character रहेंगे आपके string में, there will be 2 bytes for each character. Suppose a string is Hina, so we have 5 characters. How many bytes will be stored? 10 bytes for the string Hina. Okay. What you have to remember, these all things, that is int, long, float, double, and boolean, you can write it as it is. But if you're writing anything as character or string, that they had to be enclosed with the code. If it is a character, you have to write character surrounded by single quotes. And if you're writing the sequence of characters, which means string, you have to surround them by the double quotes. ठीक है? Please take down the screenshot. Let's proceed with the declaring variable and constant. What do you mean by a declaration? Whatever you are going to use in your program, you have to declare that somewhere. Before declaring, you cannot use those variables in the program. Declaration means nothing but giving the variable a data type. What kind of data your variable is going to store, that we are declaring before using those variables. So such statements are called as declarations. Okay, how do we declare a variable? We'll give the data type, we write the identifier, and we write the value that is optional. Check this out. We have a data type. You have to write the data type. It is int, it is double, it is float. Then you have to give the identifier, which is of your choice. आप कुछ भी identifier use कर सकते हो. Then this value is in the square bracket because that is optional, right? Since this is a variable, so it's up to you. At the time of declaration, you want to assign some value, you can assign that value. If not, you just declare that variable which you are going to use later in the program. Okay, so it's not necessary to give value to the variable. But if you are declaring your variable as a constant, you have to give that variable a value and a const keyword. So const keyword, data type, name of the variable, identifier of the variable is equals to value and semicolon. Is it okay? What you have to remember here, if you're declaring a variable as a constant, you have to give the value at the time of declaration. Okay, and for the variable type, it's up to you or on your logic that you want to give a value at the time of declaration or not. Check out the example. Int num1, that is just I'm declaring a variable. Once I write this line int num1, my compiler is going to reserve 4 bytes for this num1. Is it going to provide some value to num1? Batao, if your compiler will hit this line int num1, 4 bytes in the memory will be reserved for this num1, right? Do we have any value in this num1? No or yes? No or yes? वो तो हम provide करेंगे, but for time being your memory cannot be empty. They will have some garbage value. What happened to you? Memory management भूल गए क्या? Your memory cannot be empty. If you're not providing any value to the variable, your operating system will going to put some garbage value to those particular locations in the memory. Remember? Yes, remember? Okay. So int num1 will reserve 4 bytes for num1, and since we are not providing any value, it is going to store some garbage value for time being. Check the next one. Okay. Check this out. We have int num2 is equals to 20. Now I am giving value at the time of declaration. I am declaring one number as integer type and the value of that number is 20. So 4 bytes, and in those 4 bytes 20 will be stored in the form of zeros and ones. Check the constant declaration. Then we have a variable called pi. Which type? Double type. How many spaces will be reserved in the memory? Yes, how many spaces for the double? 8 bytes will be reserved for the double. And since we are writing a const keyword prior to the data type, we have to specify the value, and that is 3.14. If you just write const double pi semicolon and try to execute the program, your compiler will throw an error. Your constant cannot have null value. You have to assign some value to your constant variables. Is this clear? Okay, let's proceed. C identifiers. What are the C identifiers? These are nothing but the variables must be identified the unique names. These unique names are called as identifiers. Whatever the variables you are creating, whatever the names you are giving to them, those are nothing but the C identifiers. Identifiers can be short and more descriptive names. These were about the identifiers. You cannot have keyword as identifier. Okay? And what are the rules for constructing identifiers? They are same as that of C, that your variable name can have a letter, digit, or a underscore. Then it must begin with a letter. You cannot have a variable name starting with a digit or an underscore, though they are allowed, right? It has to start with a letter only. Name should start with a lowercase letter and cannot contain white spaces. It should start to follow the conventions. If you want, you can start the variable name with the uppercase letter also. It's up to you. And it cannot have white spaces. Blank spaces are not allowed. Names are the case sensitives. So C sharp language is a case sensitive, so you have to be specific with the case. Reserved keyword like C sharp keywords such as int or double cannot be used as a name. So whatever we have as a reserved keyword like const, int, double, those you cannot have the identifiers. Is it clear? Okay. Next we have typecasting. What do you mean by typecasting? Have you heard the word typecasting? What do you mean by typecasting, guys? Convert one data type to another data type, giving one data type over another data type. Okay, so typecasting basically will change the data type from one to another, int to float, float to int. Why do we need that? Why do we need that? Why do we need typecasting? See, whenever you're creating any application, suppose simple application adding two numbers, and inside the program, you have written double num1, double num2, double result. In result, you are storing the addition of num1 and num2. Now you're not sure that when you're asking a user to enter a number, the user is going to enter integer or floating point number, right? So whatever number the user is going to throw, your program should add both of the numbers, right? Since your user don't know about the different types which are available in the C sharp, so we create a program such a way so whatever will be given by the user will be handled properly by the programmer. First of all, आपके console से जो भी आएगा that will be considered as a string type. You have to convert everything which is coming from the console to the desired data type. So for that, we need this casting. We'll cast one data type to the another data type. ठीक है? Check this out. Typecasting is when you assign a value of one data type to another data type. In C sharp, there are two types of casting. One is implicit casting and another is explicit casting. What do you mean by implicit casting and explicit casting? Implicit casting is taken care by your compiler. Your compiler automatically casts some data type into the other data type, that is called as implicit casting. And explicit casting, you are forcing your compiler or you're writing a code for the casting. You're forcing a compiler to cast a particular data type into another data type, or you're explicitly defining that please convert this particular value in this type. That is called as explicit casting. Implicit casting कभी होता है? That is an automatic process when you converting a smaller data type to the longer data type. जैसे int how many bytes? 2 bytes. If you want to cast that as an integer, so you can store character value into the integer value, right? So that will cast automatically. Then we have long, which is have more memory than int. Then we have float, more memory than long, and double, more memory than float. So if you are going from smaller to the larger value in the memory, they will cast automatically, and that is called as implicit casting. And explicit casting kabhi aata hai picture mein when you try to cast the larger type to the smaller type. Then you have to use explicit casting, and that is manually. You have to write a code for explicit casting. Is it clear? Implicit casting and explicit casting. Shall we proceed? Check this out. Implicit casting is done automatically when passing a smaller size type to the larger size type. Now, check this out. This is the code for implicit casting. We have one integer type and the value is 9. And then we have one variable my double. Check the value of my double. I am storing my int in my double, which means the value 9 is going to be stored in my double, right? Since 9 is an integer and we are trying to store it in the variable which can hold the double type value, and double is greater than integer. Integer will hold 4 bytes, whereas double is going to hold how many bytes? 8 bytes, right? So it will cast automatically. Automatic casting हो रहा है integer to double. If you write an output, both will give you the output as 9. Console.writeLine my int 9. Console.writeLine my double will also display 9. Is it clear? This is implicit casting. I'm not using a particular method or any conversion code which will cast one variable to another. I have just assigned the value of the variable as the variable which contains the smaller in size value. Okay? That is implicit casting. Check out what do we have in explicit casting. Now this casting we'll be using in our programs again and again. So please be attentive here. Explicit casting must be done manually by placing the type in parentheses in front of the value. I repeat, explicit casting must be done manually by placing the type in the parentheses in front of the value. Check this out. We have one variable called my double, and I'm trying to convert that into an integer. Since integer can hold 4 bytes and double can hold 8 bytes, we cannot convert a variable with larger memory allocation with the smaller memory allocation implicitly. So to cast that, I'm using explicit casting. And for that, before assigning the value, the double value to my integer, I'm saying consider this value as an integer. And for that, I have given this int in the parenthesis before the value. Check this out. Double, my double value है उसका 9.78. Now I'm creating one integer value and I'm trying to store the value 9.78 in my int. Since this is a double value, we cannot store directly into the int value. So I'm using the explicit casting, and that is int in the parenthesis I'm giving before the value. Check the output. Console.WriteLine, my double is going to show the 9.78, whereas I have converted that double value into the integer value before putting that value in my int. So this 9.78 will be considered as 9 for the integer, and that is the output of my int, that is 9. Is it clear? It will discard the values after the decimal. Only consider the integer part of the value. Is this thing clear? Implicit casting and explicit casting. Okay, let's proceed. Other than putting the data type in the parenthesis before putting the values, we have different type conversion methods, and this topic will come under your explicit casting. If you're casting a particular data type into another using an external methods, that is also explicit casting. Check this out. We have type conversion methods. It is also possible to convert data types explicitly by using the built-in methods. Built-in methods, a definition is already given. So you just have to use those methods. One of them is convert dot to boolean. Now, as the name suggests, this method is going to convert the value as a boolean value. Okay, true and false may convert correct. Then we have convert dot to double. Convert क्या है? एक class है, or two boolean, two double. These are nothing but the functions in the convert class. जैसे console class का WriteLine function था, वैसे convert class का two boolean और two double function है. Okay. Also, we have convert dot string and convert dot to int 32. Convert dot to int 64. Now, what is the difference between the 32 and 64? 32 will take the integer type, and this will convert the integer which will be of long type. Okay. So we have these built-in methods which you can use for explicit typecasting. If you want to cast a particular variable from one type to another, you can use these methods. Check this out. I'm casting using the methods. I have declared three variables. Int, my int, the value is 10. We have double, my double, the value is 5.25. Then we have another variable, my bool of boolean type, the value is true. Console.WriteLine to print the message. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm converting this 10 as a string using convert.toString function, right? Is this clear? I'm trying to convert this string 10 into the, my int, which is of integer type, and the value for that is 10 into the string type using the function to convert of convert class. And the same integer, my int, I'm trying to convert that into the double. And this double My double 5.25, I'm trying to convert that as an integer of 32 bit. And this boolean I'm trying to convert into the string. So this way you can convert any data type into any other data type using this functions of convert class. Okay. Let's proceed. We have seen output line, that is console dot write line. Now for input, the scanf line, जैसे आपके पास we have the line which is going to read the data from the console, and that is console dot read line. Console dot write line is going to display the message on the console, whereas console dot read line will fetch the data from the console, will read the data from the console. So C sharp input, user input के लिए we use console dot read line to get user input. Check this code. Sorry. We have console dot write line. Enter your age. I'm declaring one variable of integer type. Int age is equals to. See, I'm using this convert method, explicit method, right? This is explicit casting. Why I'm using this method? Because whatever we are going to read from the console will come as a string form. So I need to convert that string data type into an integer data type before storing that into my int variable, right? So this convert dot to int 32 will convert the data and the parenthesis. And what do we have the data? Console dot read line. Now treat this will be treated as a scanf statement. So it will wait for user to enter some data. तो user ने जो भी data enter किया, that will be considered as a string for time being. Once that string is coming inside your program, I'm converting that into an integer. Why I'm converting that into an integer? Because I want to store that data into my integer variable, that is age. Is this line clear? Console.read line to read the data from the console, and since that data will be coming as a string format, though you have entered the number, आपने अगर आप number भी enter किया that my age is 30, तो वो number भी कैसे consider होगा? String के जैसे consider होगा, but we need to convert that string into an integer before storing that data into an integer variable. Okay, hence I'm explicitly converting that string into an integer using convert.toInt32 method. Is this clear? Check the another write line. Console.write line, your age in the parenthesis double quotes, it will be printed as it is. Then we have plus age. This is my variable. So after this parenthesis, since we have plus for concatenation and age is a variable, so this age will be replaced by the number which is entered by the user, which was entered by the user. Is this clear? Okay, let's proceed. I hope each and every line in this program is clear to you people. Is this clear? Why do we need these functions? If you want, you can write int in the parentheses for the explicit typecasting also. Check this out. Then we have C operators. Now these are same which we have done in the C also. Why do we need operators to perform some operations on the value? Okay. Then we have C operators. C operators are used to perform operations on your variables or the values. What kind of operations can we perform on the variables? Can you tell me what kind of operations have you done in the C? बोलो बचपन से करते आ रहे हो यार ऑपरेशंस सी में पाइथन में सब में किया है ओके प्रेम इज आस्किंग हम लोग प्रोग्राम्स कहाँ पे लिखेंगे सी शार्प के तो we'll be using Visual Studio 2019 for writing these programs. So you can download the VS 2019 in your system and you can start practicing this program. Okay. Plus, minus, multiplication, division, modulo. What is the name of these operations? How do we refer these operations? Arithmetic operations. तो अर्थमेटिक ऑपरेशंस है हमारे पास लॉजिकल ऑपरेशंस है हमारे पास बिट वाइज ऑपरेशंस है हमारे पास जैसे आपके पास सी में थे सारे के सारे ऑपरेशंस है हमारे पास टू डिफाइन द लॉजिक ऑफ योर प्रोग्राम ठीक है check this out these are your arithmetic operation plus I hope you know the definition it will add two numbers minus multiplication division modulo what is modulo Modulo is going to return the remainder of the division, right? Have you used this operator? Have you used the modulo operator in C as well as in Python? You must have used that, right? Am I audible clearly? Priyanka, am I audible to you now? Screen nahi chal raha. Actually, my internet is very slow today. Am I audible clearly and my content is visible to you people? Okay. So we have arithmetic operations first, plus, minus, multiply, division, modulo. Modulo will get the remainder of the division. Plus plus is going to increment value by 1 unit and minus minus will decrease the value of your variable by 1. Right? You are aware about these operators. Shall we proceed to the logical one? Okay, before moving to the another operators, we have one program covering all of these operators. Check this out. Let's try to understand this program. I'm starting with the first line that is using system because I'm going to use the method writeLine from the console class of the system namespace, right? So I'm writing the first line using system. Then I'm creating my namespace and I call it as sample. So namespace keyword and sample is the name of my namespace. Then we have class demo. I'm creating one class and the name of the class is demo. Okay, and I'm starting my program with the main function. This is the entry of my program. Static void main with M capital, string ka S small, square brackets and args. ठीक है. Now these are there for getting the console arguments. ये हम जब practical करेंगे that will be clear to you why I'm writing string args here. But this line is fixed. You have to write this line as it is. Static void string args, all in the small cases. Only main ka M will be capital. Now what I'm doing in this program, I'm declaring two variables and giving them value as 50 and 25. Num1, num2, both of them are integer type. And I'm declaring one more integer that is called as a result to hold the result of these two variables in the different operations. Okay? यहाँ तक ठीक है? Just variable declaration. Now I'm defining my result and that will store the addition of these two numbers. That is num1 plus num2. What will be the value? Yes, what will be the value? 75. Now I'm trying to display the value 75 on the console. So console.writeLine value of in curly braces 0, comma result. Result ka value has 75. That will be replaced by this curly braces wala 0. Now this you can compare with your %d. Remember in C we used to write value of anything %d, then after comma you have to specify those variables. Yes, your format specifiers, used to call them as format specifiers. Yes, remember %d, %c, %f. Remember, no? What do we call them? We call them format specifiers, right? Similarly, we have here content placeholder. These are called as content placeholders. वहां पे हम लोग फॉर्मेट स्पेसिफायर्स बोलते थे %d को. यहाँ पे हम लोग इसको बोलेंगे कंटेंट प्लेस होल्डर्स. Content placeholders, whenever your compiler come across these curly braces, it will check the number inside. This is 0. So it will move after the comma wala list and take the first variable and replace the value here. So since my result is having 75 now, so this content placeholder will be replaced by 75. If you write curly braces 1 curly braces, so it will look for the second value in the list. But we don't have any second value, right? We have only single value, that is result. So it will throw an error if you write 1 here. Is this concept clear? It's like an array only. The indexing will start from 0. That is a content placeholder and it will look which variable to be placed here in the list after the comma. And the numbering of the variables will start from 0. Is this clear? If you don't want to put this curly braces wala 0, you can directly write value is comma result. जैसे हमने age वाला देखा था previous slide में. Okay? मैंने क्यों लिखा है? So that you will be aware about the content placeholders. Let's proceed to another line. then I'm changing that result variable. I'm just changing the value of my result variable. I'm storing the num1 minus num2. So difference will be there in my result now, and that is 25. The same way I'm displaying the result, so the value will be 25 now, right? Then we are doing multiplication. 50 into 25, the value will be
जाना हो तो था कहेंगे
multiplication of 50 into 25. Then we divide it. The value will be the result of division. Modulo, the value will be remainder of division, that is 0. 50 divides 25, remainder will be 0, right? Then num1 plus, this will increment the 50 by 1. So result will become 51. And here the result will become 49.
तोदा कुत्ता नहीं तोदा कुत्ता
Right?
स्वामी साडा कुत्ता कुत्ता
Why I'm writing console.readline at the end? You remember you used to write get ch at the end of your C program? लिखते थे ना get ch.
But why written?
क्यों लिखते थे?
ये ठीक है ना? ये ठीक है कि ये
Why do you write? Why
दोनों बढ़िया
you used to write get ch at the end of your C program?
पानी के दाना ये कहीं जाती है गांव में ना
अच्छा, अगर नहीं लिखते थे तो क्या होता था? Sanjana, it's not too clear. Clear के लिए we used to write CLRCSCR. Clear screen function was there to clear the screen. अगर आप get ch नहीं लिखते थे तो आपका आउटपुट स्क्रीन विजिबल नहीं होता था. Remember? याद है? अगर get ch नहीं लिखा तो आउटपुट स्क्रीन ही नहीं दिखता था. क्योंकि C में जब आप Alt F9 और Control F9 करके प्रोग्राम को कंपाइल और रन करते थे तो it was just checking the debugging. It was just for the debugging process. But to check the output, we have Alt F5, right? We have the keys Alt F5 in your C. बट आप तो जब कंपाइल करते थे कंट्रोल F9 दबा के तभी आपका आउटपुट स्क्रीन आ जाता था. एंड दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ योर गेट ch. बिकॉज गेट ch आपके कंपाइलर को क्या बोलता है? टू रीड अ कैरेक्टर, टू गेट अ कैरेक्टर फ्रॉम द स्क्रीन. To get a character from the screen, it has to go to the console, right? So actually आपको वो जो console screen दिखता था, so compiler were expecting some kind of character from the user. Hence it was displaying your output screen. तो हम लोग get ch दिखते थे लास्ट में so that वो output string दिखे. Similarly यहाँ पे हम लोग लिखेंगे console.readline. So your compiler wait for some input from user. एंड तब तक वो स्क्रीन वहां पे होल्ड करे. इज दिस क्लियर? Am I clear to you people? Shall we proceed? Anything which you are not getting here? Okay, quickly tell me the output of this program. Yes, what will be the output of this program?
वो कैसे लगाते मम्मी देख रहे. अरे हाँ ना भूसुमी ऐसा बोले तो मेरे को तो पता भी नहीं कैसे लगाते. नारियल पानी कैसे मिले? सोची लगाऊंगी. नारियल पानी कैसे मिले? उस दिन कैसे मिले? 50 रुपए.
नहीं नहीं 40
कहाँ 10 का मिलता था. 10 का कौन से जमाने में पीती थी? 10 का नहीं पी नारियल पानी. ये ऐसे लगा मैं पी नहीं. 10 का नारियल पानी कहाँ पिए रे कभी?
The value is 75, the value is 25, the value is
पूछ ले बड़े पापा
multiplication of
जब
75 and 20, multiplication of 50 and 25, that is 1250. And the division will give you 2, the value is 2. Modulo will give you 0, the value is 0. Increment num1 will give you 51, and decrement
मुझे कौन सा जमाना चल रहा है
it's okay, Vivek. I hope there is no disturbance now. So these were your arithmetic operators. Then we have logical operators. Logical operators may we have and or and not. The same which we have in your C. And जैसे हमने COD में पढ़ा था, if both are true, the result will be true. Or at least one should be true, and not is nothing but reverse your result. Right? So and logical and returns true if both the statements are true. Logical or returns true if one of the statement is true, and logical not will reverse the result, returns the false if the result is true. I hope you're good with the logic of all these logical operators. Shall we proceed, guys? Check out this program which is covering your logical operators. Everyone, please keep yourself on the mute mode. We have a program in which we'll be using two variables, A and B, of Boolean type. Both of them are holding true value. Okay? And we have a if statements. We have two if statements. If A and B. Can anybody tell me what will be the result of this statement? If A and B. A is true, B is true. True and true will become true. So this if statement is true, we'll be moving in this block and we'll be printing line 1 condition is true. So this is my output of this if block, right? Since A is true, B is true. So and A and B will given be true. So this line will be printed on your console that line 1 condition is true. Check this out. We have A or B. A is true, B is true. What will be the OR of A and B? What will be the A or B? True again. Because in your logical OR, at least one true, the result will be true, right? So we'll moving to this block always, and that is called as line 2 condition is true. Check the output. Since both the condition blocks are returning true, we'll be going into both of the if blocks, and the output is condition 1. Line 1 condition is true, line 2 condition is true. Now check this out. We have two variables A and B. A is holding false and B is holding true. Tell me the output of first if statement. What will be the output of first if statement? Divya is saying false. Since your first if statement is going to return false, so we'll be moving in the else block, right? And this will print line 3 condition is not true. Let's evaluate this if block. We have A and B. This is going to return false because A is false and B is true, right? This is going to return false and we are taking the negation of false, so this will become true. So are we going to evaluate this particular statement, or this if block is not going to be evaluated? But now, what will be the evaluation of this if block? Will it could return false or true? True, right? Because A and B is going to return false and the negation of false will be true. So this if block will be executed and the output will be line 4 condition is true. Okay. So these were the logical operators in your C sharp. Next we have conditional statements. Tell me, which are the conditional statements? आपने कौन से conditional statements पढ़े हैं C में, which are used to check the conditions? बताओ, अभी तो एक पढ़ा हमने. If, else if. Other than that, we used to write while is not a condition statement, Divya. While is an iterative statement. Condition statements will check the conditions. Case. Switch cases are also the conditional statements. We used to write menu driven programs in your C using the switch cases, right? So switch case will also come under your conditional statements. Check this out. Conditional logic. C sharp has following conditional statements: if, else, as if, and switch. Now you all know what are the job of these statements. They will check the condition. If the condition is true, they are going to execute the block underneath them. If not, they are not going into the block. If the condition is false, the block of if statement will not be executed. Right? Check the syntax of if statement. If we have only if statement, we'll write if your condition in the parenthesis and a block to be executed in the curly braces. That is the syntax of if statement and that is quite similar to your C. Exactly similar to your C. Right? Let's move to the if else. If else, if this condition is true, this block will be executed. If this condition is not true, which means this condition is false, we will execute the else block. Okay? Then we have if, else if, else. Where you want to check more than one condition, you can use if, else if, else if, else if, else if, and finally else if none of the condition is true, right? So we have if condition, a block, then we have this condition, a block, then we have else. Okay? Is this clear? Now, if you don't want to use multiple if else in the program, you can use the switch cases. In switch cases, we'll give the expression and the result of this expression, we write it as a case, right? Case X, case Y, and so on. And finally, if none of the condition is true, we are writing default. You can compare this with your if, else wala ladder, right? So both of them can be used for the same purpose. Which one? Switch case and if else ladder. You have used all these statements in your C program. Break is important because I want only one block is to be executed. So once this block is done, break will get the control out of the switch statement. If you don't write break, it will execute all of the blocks. Shall we proceed? Okay. Let's check. I have little bit description about the switch statement. A switch expression is evaluated once. The value of the expression is compared with the value of each class. If there is a match, the associated block of code is executed. We have to write the expression on the switch and the value of those expression, the value which can have those expression in the case. So both things will be compared. If the value is true, we'll execute the block. Break keyword kya hai? In C sharp reaches a break. When C sharp reaches a break keyword, it breaks out of the switch block. This will stop the execution of more code and the case testing inside the block. When a match is found, the job is done. It's time to break. There is no need for more testing. Okay, so break keyword brings the control out of this switch case statement. Default keyword kya hai? Is optional and specifies some code to run if there is no case match. This is an optional keyword, this is an optional block, and if none of the case is matching with the expression value, the default will be executed. Same जो आपने C में पढ़ा था. Then we have loops. What do we have in the loops? Tell me कौन से loops पढ़े हैं हमने? We have for loop, we have while loop, we have do while loop. Yes, we have while, do while, for loop, right? And why do we need loop? If you want to execute a particular task repetitively, so for that thing we need loop. If I want to add numbers repetitively, instead of writing the addition ka definition again and again, I put the definition in the loop and specify a condition. So your loop will check for the condition. If the condition is true, it will execute that statement again and again until that condition will become false, right? So loop can execute a block of code as long as the specified condition is true or reached. Loops are handy because they save time, reduce error, and they make code more readable. Check the syntax of while loop. This is same as T, hence I'm going bit fast where the loops and conditional statements were there. Same है जो हमने किया है C में Python में. Check this out. While loop. A while loop loops through the block of code as long as the specified condition is true. So we have a keyword while with small w and the condition in the parenthesis and the task which you want to perform again and again that will be enclosed in these curly braces. Then we have do while loop. Now, what is the difference between while and do while loop? Very, very important and the favorite questions of interviewer. While loop checks the condition first, then execute the block. Whereas do while loop, one time the block will be executed and then it will check the condition. So in while loop, you may or may not get output, but your do while loop at least produce output once, right? So do while loop is variant of the while loop. It is extended version of the while loop. This loop will execute the block of code once before checking the condition is true or false. Then it will repeat the loop as long as the condition is true. Check this out. We have do keyword. Then whatever you want to perform a task in a repetitive manner, you have to put it here in the curly braces. After the curly braces, we are specifying the condition with while keyword and parenthesis. And please check, we terminate this loop with this semicolon. This semicolon is very, very important. ठीक है, सेम है ना जो सी में किया था. Okay, let's proceed for the for loop. Now for loop, we'll break the for statement in three parts. The first part is initialization, then condition and increment, right? When you know exactly how many times you want to loop through the block of code, we use the for loop instead of while loop. So that first statement is nothing but the initialization. You have to start a particular from the particular number. How many times you want to run that loop, that condition will come here as the second statement, and you have to increment the initial number again and again. So we'll be writing the increment or decrement statement as your third statement. And all three statements will be separated by semicolon. Okay, any confusion in any of the iterative statements? Conditional statements may we have if, we have if else, we have if else, else if, else ladder, and we have switch. And the iterative statements may we have while, we have do while, and we have loop, for loop. Any confusion here? Any confusion till here, guys? Okay. Now, these three loops you have already done. This is the definition of statement. The first one is condition. The second one is first one is initialization. Second one is condition. And third one is the increment. Now, this one another loop we have in C sharp that is for each loop. Now, this particular loop we use for the arrays. Okay, whenever arrays comes in picture, we use for each loop instead of for loop. You can use for loop also the way we used to use in the C programming, but we have a dedicated loop for the array and that is for each. Check this out. This is there is also for each loop which is used exclusively to loop through the element in array. Now, जब आपको array access करना था C में, so we used to write for int I is equals to 0, I is less than the length of your array, comma I plus plus. Now this loop used to access each and every element in your array, right? I hope you know the concept of array. Screen is not visible yet. Is it visible now? Okay. I hope you people what know what are the arrays. Arrays are nothing but the data types which can hold the multiple value of a particular data type in a consecutive location, right? So this for each loop, this for each loop we'll be using for the specially for the arrays. We don't have to write three statements here: initialization, condition, and increment statement. No. What you have to write type, that is the data type, variable name in which you are storing the array in array name. So this loop we'll be checking when we'll be dealing with the concept of array. We have this one special loop here in C sharp that is for each loop. That was not there in your C. Check the example. We have an array. The name of the array is cards and it is going to store the integer data, string data type. The values are Volvo, BMW, Ford, and Mazda. I don't know how to pronounce it. Okay. Now for each string I in card, check. I'm just writing the name of the array and I. Now this I will start from 0, that is Volvo, then BMW, then Ford, and Mazda. Okay. So we don't have to write three statements in this particular loop. Just you have to write string I in a particular array name, that is car here, and you can access the values of the array. Is this clear for each loop? Okay, then we have the method. Now before that, please punch in your roll numbers in the chat panel. Then we'll be starting with C method. Okay. Uh, okay, I'm stopping here as Preeti ma'am has already arrived. So thank you so much, everyone.
Indian students, can you able to hear me properly? Can you able to hear me properly? Yes, good. So now I will continue my data, sorry, subject, non-data structure, software engineering. Now we will see principles for coding a software. Which principles are required? First one, reuse existing code. Your, if you have existing code, you should able to use it. Then next one, hmm, hmm, uh, rule out any sort of dependencies. Just see if you are dependent or on particular thing, then it will create a problem. Okay, so try to reduce the dependency. Hmm. Dependencies. Then next one, or try to minimize or remove hmm, the dependencies. Now, test your code while writing and ensure works already fixed or appearing. Whenever any error appears, try to remove it. Here we are doing implementation or software engineering. We have to develop a software and how to develop that is a procedure. Correct. Now here everything we will do first on paper. Nothing we will do on system or you may not start coding immediately. Many things are there. Then later on you will start coding. You can see here in eighth step you will start coding. Correct. Anyway, so later on you will start coding. You will not start coding immediately. You have to do many things first. Finding requirement, designing, many things we will see in this subject. Now, first one I said reuse existing code. If any code is available, try to use it so that your implementation time will reduce. Next one, if any dependencies are there, then try to remove it. Otherwise, it will create a problem. If you are modifying one uh, function and if it is depending on other, you have to modify that also. So it will create a problem. Suppose you are not modifying. If we are not modifying the one of, and second one is modified, then it will create a problem. So better try to remove dependencies so that there will be no problem at all. Test your code while writing to ensure bugs already fixed or appearing. Now use assertion for validation of the data. Uh, you have to verify the data. See, you are implementing. Sorry, you are sorry, you are designing a system. There also you have to verify the data. See, I already said you want to develop a system for our college. Who will use it? Staff will use it. Okay. As a staff will use it. If any error will be there, who will modify the programming field will modify. Okay. So actually before implementation, you should ask from user. Designing team should ask from user your requirement, everything write on paper so that there may be no problem at all later on. Okay. So suppose it is admission process. How it works? Who will involve in your design team? Right now, from office staff who is using that procedure, you should know this so that if any problem is there, you can directly interact with that person and try to solve the error. If it is an admission, sorry, exam related software, you want to develop software for exams. So
the theme will be different. So you can should contact the design, contact the person who are involved in college, who are doing the processing on data. Okay. So that is very important. Uh, Now, before coding itself, your data should be validated. That is on paper. Uh, Rule is there. Okay. If your percentage is 40%, then it is 40 and above pass, otherwise fail. So validation, you have to do validation on paper. You have to specify that if they if marks are more than that, but that is validation. You have to validate the data. So keep the code simple. Try to write a code similar. If it is very simple, you can able to develop the system easily. Uh, learn, learn new tool and use them frequently. You know that right now so many tools are available. Try to use the tool so that your code will be completed within less time. So learn the tool and frequently use that tool so that your implementation will be fast. You can understanding will be fast. Just take an example for college exam. See, if graph representation is there, then the person from design college can understand the requirement and can specify the requirement easily to design thing. Okay, you are understanding what I am saying. Already I said the person don't do attendance. I will not consider your attendance. When I will say that time only provide attendance. I will not consider roll number 22 107 54. When I will say, then only give the attendance. Anyway, now see your attendance will not be considered. Same thing, roll number 5. Again, your attendance will not be considered. When I will say that on time only provide attendance. Now, just I ask you something. Are you understanding any doubt anyone have? See, again I am saying your designing team will be different and the person who will use will be different. The college person will use it and designer will design the system. Designer may be XYZ, the person from XYZ. Okay. So, you are understanding or no? Let me know. Again, I am saying it is a theoretical subject. Try to understand it. Your full concentration is required. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand. Software engineering, I am using phase one book. The standard book is there, phase one. I am using that book. Uh, Only one book is there that is sufficient from actually to 60, 26 years back. I I studied that book, but again, same book, only same book is available right now also, and I'm using that pace one. Now, next one, keep the code simple. Learn the tools. Maintain your flow in development. It should not happen that you are doing something and now the word later on and so on. It should not happen. Maintain a flow. Now, plan, plan properly code before starting. And that is actually coding it, doing coding, doing programming, plan it properly. Once the plan is proper, requirement is clear, output requirement is clear, what input you will provide that is also clear, then you can develop your code and that will be perfect. Now, next one, software crisis. Why problem comes? Just think, software engineer is still a relatively young discipline. Nation of software engineers was first proposed in 1969. And conference, it is called as a software crisis. The word crisis is defined in Webster dictionary as turning point in a course of anything, crucial point, or stage or event. These are the you can say definition of crisis. The number of large size of software may be failed because of following reason. Your software, if any, the software which you design that may fail. One, there are certain reasons. The first one is if number of instructions are more. Size of the code is so long, or a number of size, large size of the software may create a problem. Your code will not work due to following reason. First one is development team exceed the budget. Here it happens that you have started your project. You said in within 1 year my software will finish and its cost is 1 lakh. But due to some problem, if it took 2 years, then naturally its size, its cost will increase because many persons will be there in team, and you can also understand you have to pay salary to all workers for 1 year, so naturally the cost will increase. Late delivery of the software. Same thing. If you are not providing a software on time, it will create a problem. Development fee exceed the budget. First one is uh, not correct. Example, time budget is same, but some problem occurs, and you think that budget will increase. So that is first thing. Development team exceed the budget. Maybe some other problem is cost. You think that I should use this hardware, but its cost suddenly increases. So your software cost also will increase. Hmm. Your suppose you want to provide output on printer, but you think that I will provide this printer and later on you think that no, I will not use this printer. Latest I will use, and accordingly I will develop my software. So it will increase the budget. Next one is late delivery. Your software, if you are not providing on time, then its cost will increase. User requirement not completely supported by the software. Your requirements are not completely supported by the software. You will think that my software will do this thing. But when you are using it, the user will think that yes, it is not providing this. So your software will fail. Hmm. Requirement. That's why requirement analysis is very important. At the beginning, I said was you should understand the requirement. If requirement is correct, many things will be correct. Then your software will be according to the user requirement, and user will use it. So user requirements are very important, and that is called as the requirement analysis. To in requirement analysis, everything should be specified properly. It may happen when a user will think that it is not necessary to specify. My system will provide output. No, that will not happen. User should specify the requirement properly. If requirements are correct, then only output will be according to user's requirement. Now, difficult maintenance. Uh, difficult maintenance. It may happen when your software is using any hardware part and that is costly or maintain taking so much not only hardware, it may be software also, but it is difficult to maintain the software. If it is the case, then your software will fail and the company will not use it. And if it is not using it, then it will be major problem. Unreliable software. It may happen that your software, your you develop a software and that software will work for one input, but it will not work other for another input. So you can say that it is unreliable. Yeah. So if it is according to, if it is not according to requirement, the user will not use it. Right. So as the user will not use it, there is a failure. Now, many times you can take an example in July 1996, and launcher uh, break up and exploded after 40 seconds of takeoff and altitude of less than 4 kilometers. The total loss was $500 million. It was found that the error was due to overflow in a convention from 68-bit floating point number to 16-bit integer number, sign number. That is, you due to this problem, your launcher doesn't work, and due to that, company have to suffer a lot. $500 million. Similarly, Ministry of Agriculture in US alone has to undergo less than 15 million pounds because of software errors. The problem is there, and due to that, company have to suffer. If you remember, I said that company, I think somebody can have some problem in between. Just BMW, I think, that car lot came and it has some problem. And due to that, the company had to take the off the card and modify the company later on modified that card and sent back to customer. So company had to bear the loss. Okay. It may be software problem. So maybe due to software problem, company have to suffer a lot. Even launcher of space shuttle Columbia has delayed 3 years, thus costing billions of dollars. Uh, they say that within this month, within this much time, they will provide the launcher, but it is delayed for 3 years, and due to that, there are there was billions of dollar loss. So your software may not work. The reason I said now here example so I said now next one is I said that I will not consider your attendance. When I will say do the attendance, that time only put your roll number. I will not consider your roll number. Why you are giving attendance? No. When I will say that time only I will consider. It is not according to your need, the requirement. It will be according to my requirement. When I will say that time only provide attendance. No, I think that is complete. Now next one. So anyone hand out? You are not listening, I think so. Anyone have any doubt? Second year student doesn't have any doubt. Okay, I will continue. Next one is myth one. Why you are giving roll number? I am again saying I will not consider your roll number. When I will say put your roll number, then only, and that only attendance I will consider. I have no time, and on that time only I will consider whole numbers. I have detailed information, and decoding is going on. So I know when you punch. Now, meet one. Meet the cost of the software is lower than analog or electromechanical device. It is said that cost of the software is less. It may not be the case. Here it is a myth. Okay, you cannot say always that cost of the software is less. Uh, the cost of the software is less than electronic electromechanical device or analog device. It may happen that my software is there and that is providing information or my computer is attached to medical instrument. The what we can say, uh, MRI machine. Okay. My computer is attached to it is sorry it is automatic system. Computer is attached to MRI machine. The cost of the software sorry the cost of the computer is less. In this case, it is less. Yes, correct. Than electromechanical device. That is correct. Okay, but it is not the case for everything. My software may be specifying inventory of a company. Okay, and previously one person is doing maintaining an inventory. You have to think about its output on paper will take hardly 5. Okay, 1 second. We need to carefully about sorry we need to be careful about replacing 5% solution with $500 customized solution. See, if I'm doing one paper, okay, one notebook is sufficient. But if I'm doing it on computer, its cost is more. Right now, cost of the computer new minimum 33,000. So you can say that it is a myth. Cost of the software is less than device. It is not fact. Sometimes it is fact, sometimes it is not a fact. So cannot say that make one. Of course, I think you are not understanding that your roll number is not considered. When I am saying put your roll number, only at that time I will consider. Otherwise, these roll numbers I will not going to consider. Roll number 15, roll number 22, 29. Why you are punching? You are not understanding what I am saying. Why you are punching? When I will say punch, then only punch. Otherwise, I have to take action. Now, next one. Meet two. Software. Software is easy to change. It is a second myth. This is an outright. आपको इंग्लिश नहीं समझ में आता है क्या? हाँ, यू आर सेकंड ईयर स्टूडेंट. हाँ, आपको इंग्लिश समझ में नहीं आता है कि आपको नहीं डालना है शैली शर्मा. क्यों आप अटेंडेंस डाल रहे हैं? मैंने नहीं बोला है. इंग्लिश समझ में नहीं आता है क्या? ये देखो और कौन है? ये सब अटेंडेंस कंसिडर नहीं होगा. मैंने आपको पहले ही बोला है. All attendance will not be considered. Why creating a problem? Why disturbing me? Second myth. This subject is very easy. You think? No, it is not so easy. Many things are there, and the syllabus is very vast. Actually, I don't know how much I can able to cover it. Hardly one point is considered. Second second myth. Software is easy to change. Is it so easy? No, it is not easy. See, your like same college admission process or exam system. Suppose some changes, university changes. आपको क्या मराठी में बोलू आता? हाँ? You don't have to point your roll number. कौन है 108? इंग्लिश में बोला, हिंदी में बोला, अभी मराठी में बोलते हूँ. Your attendance will not be considered. If you are doing purposely, I have to take action. By mistake, you are doing okay. This is an outside this section. It is now. It is true, but it is not a case. Your software is easy to change. No, it is not so easy because see, many things are there. Then it is not easy to modify it. Yes, you can modify it, but it is not so easy. By making changes without introducing error is extremely difficult task. Because you may have to think about this different functions. One function, I said that. That's why one function should not depend on another. But somewhere it may be related. Here, computer department and IT department. As such, exam is there. But number of students in your class, number of students in IT class may be different. But still, when I have to provide uh, sitting arrangement. I should think about both classes students, uh, how many students are there, how many benches are required, and so on. Correct. So this many things, those departments are different. Still, you may have to think about other. I think you are not understanding anything. Roll number 30, 28. I will lock it. Better I will lock it. So, every change, everything requires that complete system is revaluable. Correct? Uh, if you do not have the ability to run the mechanism, degraded tech, this is going to be extremely tedious and expensive process. So modifying the software is very difficult. Now next one. Computer. Computer provide greatly availability that the device will place. That is second myth. It is true that software does not fail in a real sense. There is no limit to how many times the code is executed. Correct? And that's why it will not wear out. Uh, you can run one program number of times. Every time it will use same result. If program is correct. And the simple explanation of this myth is that our general ledger are still not perfect, even though they have been computerized. Even you have considered everything. You have considered many facts, but it may happen that output it may not be according to their user requirement. Some problem still may be there. Slight problem also may be there. So back in earlier manual accounting system, human error was the fact of our life. The computer will not provide error, but still some error may be there, but in previous cases, human error will be more. So computers computer provide greater reliability than device that replace that is the existing system is by human and the new system. So in a new system, error will be there more, but in computerized system, error will be less. But it may be there. You cannot say it will be 100% correct. Some error may be there. Increasing software reliability will increase safety. That is next myth. Increasing software reliability will increase safety. Hmm. Uh, one of the thing, one of the thing in our process maturity consult, consulting is important of identifying defect as early as possible in a product of the system. You have to find out the error easily. Finding and repairing and detecting is requirement and requirement is approximately 10 times more than economical finding to defect during coding. Defect that exceeds the requirement process can become part of the software test. So second myth is in good reliability will be there, but still you cannot 100% rely on your system or safety. You cannot say you will provide a safety. Next one is te- testing software or proving software correct can remove all the error. Again, it is a myth. You cannot say, you can say that testing, I have tested my system. So there will be no problem as such. Okay, there will be no problem as such. But that is not the case. You have tested the system, still it may happen that there is an error. And if there is an error, you, you have to design a thing, we have to modify it again. I will not allow them to come inside. Yeah, it is love to love. Now next one, software engineering layer technology. Software engineering is concerned with software software system developed by a team rather than individual. I said, I said that at the beginning, only one person will not develop a film. Actually, when you are developing a project, a team should be there, and that team will develop one software. Why it is required? Because when you are developing, uh, you should able to understand the behavior of the person, and accordingly, you should able to cope up with their problems also. Anyway, so software engineering is concerned with software system developed by a team rather than individual. user engineering visible in developing of these systems and is made up of both technical and non-technical aspects. So, software engineering is a layered technology which is based on quality. Quality of this software is very important. You should maintain a quality. Uh, your output should be according to user requirement. There should not be any error at such. Quality refer to software quality which is comments to client by software development company. Just now I said software engineering consists of four layers. As shown in figure, there are four layers. First in quality process, quality processor, method and tool. It is a layered technology. Now, next one is now I'm saying that first your role ball, only that will be considered. Last one 8 that time attendance I took and that will be validated. Don't say later on I have points but why I'm absent. Here attendance is over. My single roll number is over. I will stop here. punching is over. I think punching is over. I will leave the meeting because I have next lecture.